Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mind Blowing Energy and You, bringing the woo-woo to everyday living. I'm Lynn Prophet, your host, and I'm with Living Currents Energy and Life Coaching. And today we have another awesome guest, Corby Furrow, and I'll introduce her shortly. But today, actually, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, A Chime for Healing, the handcrafted wind chimes tuned to healing frequencies. And actually, I just found out I guess I found out a little while ago, but they'll be at the South Common Farmers Market this summer. So you can go and check them out there, which is really cool. And Corby, we're so glad to have you here today.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Corby is a transformational catalyst, helping men and women free themselves from self-imposed subconscious emotional blocks that are holding them back. And as a HR professional for 24 years, Corby gained insights into corporate culture, both functional and dysfunctional. Yes, we're all familiar with that if you've been in the corporate world. And she knew there was something missing in her career and there had to be more. So losing her job catapulted her into discovering what that more was, and also to discover the power of her feminine side and to embrace it. With coaching tools and emotional freedom techniques, she's grown herself and her business toward a greater purpose, working with others to become the very best version of themselves. Wow, Corby, a transformational catalyst.
Yes.
That is so cool. You just don't see that. And it's supposed to be hard to fit on a business card.
Actually, it fits not too bad.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Because I see what I do as being that, you need that catalyst, that's something that's going to help you to make that change and move. And that's where I see my role coming in as.
Awesome. Well, okay. So you're a transformational catalyst. Tell us kind of more about what you do as a transformational catalyst, and how does that benefit your clients?
Yeah, so what I do is I help people look at those limiting beliefs, because when we are searching for answers and wanting to up-level ourselves or become better at what we do, a lot of times, if we keep ending up at the same spot, there's something holding us back. And usually that's an anchor somewhere. And that anchor usually has an emotional component, because most of the stuff that don't have, we can think our way and become very successful. But when we have that anchor that's emotional, that keeps showing up in our life, that's what holds us back. So when we can break through that, now we can move forward and achieve even more than what we ever even imagined was possible.
Yeah, that's very true. And you're talking about the emotional side of it, and having the emotional freedom techniques, or EFT. Some people notice tapping as well.
That's right.
And it's becoming more prevalent, or at least on my Facebook feed, it shows up quite regularly about tapping for this and tapping for that. And it is really cool, but I've tried it myself, but I've never actually done it with a practitioner of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, and that's where we're getting, the differentiating between that. We're trying to sort of say, everybody can do tapping, and that's regulating your system in that moment. So if you're nervous about going somewhere or doing something, then we can tap and kind of calm that system, because it works on the amygdala in the brain, that fight, flight, fear center. And so it's great to regulate like that. And what they've found is, because it was such a great tool, Gary Craig was the founder he was one of the founders of it, who made it mainstream. So when he brought it out, and it's like, here, everybody have this wonderful tool. So everybody started using it, which was great. A lot of good happened from it. But then what happened, people started getting up against the things that were really troublesome for them. Yeah. And because we are a fear-based being, as soon as we hit that troublesome spot, we go, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. So that's where I come in, or somebody like me who's an EFT practitioner. And then we can help you now. When you hit that wall, is now how do we work with that resistance and get you past that? Because we won't do it on our own. And that's why it's so important to have coaches. So that's why we're trying to differentiate between, yes, tapping is an awesome tool for everybody to regulate, but we want you to go to the emotional freedom techniques with a coach to get through to have that greater growth.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Actually, I didn't realize that. And can you explain a little bit more? Like, I generally get how tapping works,
Yeah.
but can you just explain that a little bit more?
Yes, yeah. Well, tapping works on the meridians. It's like if you've ever had acupuncture where they use the needles, this is acupressure. So you're actually pushing on points in the body that are meridians. And meridians are the energy flow that goes through our body. So emotions are energy, and because we are energy beings. So when we are feeling sad or angry or whatever it is, a lot of time in our lifetime, we're told, suck it up, don't cry. You don't need to do that, like be brave. And so that's what we start doing, right? We hold it in, we might break down on our own somewhere, but not in front of anybody, right? So then we start getting stuck in it, right? Because it's never a good time. So we just keep layering and layering, layering. Mm-hmm. So when we start tapping on those meridians, it starts to, unravel some of those stuckness that we have, and then allowing the body to flow naturally. And so why we call it emotional freedom is because when you have something that triggers you, that gives you that response, then we're unable to see what is happening in front of us because we are viewing it from our old memory.
Right. Okay.
So it's confused as what is reality and what isn't, right? Mm. So when we discharge that emotion out of that old memory, now we've got the availability of that memory to use as wisdom. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, I'm following.
So then so we take off the lenses of that old hurt. Now I can see what's actually happening. And do I need to be fearful? Is it something that I can handle or not? Now I'm free to make that assessment of it.
Right.
So that's where tapping is very powerful. And it can also, a lot of people say, well, we're just working on the negative. But what we do too is when we clear out those negative, if you will, emotions, then we start bringing in the positive of how do we want to show up in the world? Because it's like if you think emptying out a container, well, the container's now empty, but it needs to be filled again. And if we don't put back with the good stuff that we want, the other stuff might creep back into there, that space.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we are always healthy and in a good spot, that, everything can flow for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Actually, I'm following that. And so in a way too, I guess physiologically, like when we talk about neural pathways, and, so many of our beliefs and our thoughts build into those, basically thought loops, or how we respond to situations and experiences that are even remotely close. So when you're doing the emotional freedom technique, because you bring in sort of that relaxation of the brain, would it be correct to say that it actually helps to change those patterns more easily because we're not kind of fighting it or stuck in the thought loop?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we start to challenge, because we're made of belief systems, and a lot of them are put onto us, right? And then we accept them as our own. And then what happens once we believe something, then our brain goes about proving it.
Yeah.
So then it forms those neural pathways. So now when we challenge those beliefs and we actually get to a confused state, and that's actually a very good thing, because we're knowing we're undoing those old neural pathways. Then we can start, what is the new belief? So then a new thread of the neural pathway starts to form. Mm-hmm. So as it starts to form, it's like a spider weaving a web. It just one at a time, it starts to going, and the old belief starts to crumble. Yeah. But what happens is when we're under stress again, whatever's stronger is where we'll tend to go to.
Okay.
So even if we're building that new belief, when we get stressed, we'll tend to go back to what we know best, because our body has that memory of, I know how to react to this. So our job, as when we're clearing these things and becoming aware of a new way of being, we need to recognize that, I'm back into my old pattern. So now what do I need to do to get back to the new way that I want to believe?
Right. Yeah.
And be in this world. Yeah.
And like that's so interesting, because, like you said, when we start shifting those neural pathways, it actually creates a different energy.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. So, like it starts bringing us new and different experiences, because then we start attracting that new energy.
That's right. Yeah. Because if you think about it, like joy is your highest energy. And a lot of people live in shame and guilt, which is your lowest energy, and they wonder why they can't get out of there, because we have those beliefs that I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not enough. I can't do I'm a failure, and those are packed on us. And when you dig underneath, you can realize that those aren't even true or even close to it, but somehow, the most of my clients I've worked with, 99% of them, that's where they end up, and it's like, it's sad that we have to feel that we are inadequate.
Yeah, no kidding. So, okay, I get that there's also, physical changes or health improvements that come along with when we start shifting different types of emotional energy. Mm-hmm. But with EFT, like, is it something that people can use specifically for health issues?
Yes, absolutely. Because everything, if you think about it, whatever, however we stuff our emotions down, if we don't deal with it, it comes out as dis-ease in our body somewhere.
Yeah.
So, everything's got an underlying component, whether it's cancer, whether it's skin disorders, whether it's digestion problems, whatever it might be, you can usually lead it to somewhere else. But what happens right now is like our medical systems and our holistic systems need to pair up more, because a lot of times you go to the doctor and they're like, what's wrong? Well, here's the prescription.
Yeah.
So you're medicating the symptom versus what's going on in your life. What's happened in the last 6 months? What are the stresses that you're dealing with? And instead of how do we deal with that and get to the core of that, we're often medicating it and, have antidepressants and everything else.
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying there's, not to have any of those. I'm saying there's a balance somewhere that we need to find as, in working together in our systems.
Right. Yeah.
Because we don't want that quick fix, and we want it done, yesterday.
Oh, I'm just as guilty as that. It's like, even for the access that I have to people to do a variety of things.
Yeah.
And for the knowledge that I have, I'm still just as bad of, I'll just go take something and it'll be over with. Like, yeah,
I know it is. It's so easy because it takes less effort to do that. But the thing is, you never are completely done, because you still have to go and redo it again and again and again, right? So whereas with a lot of emotional freedom clearing, you're done with it, and it's done, and it doesn't trigger you again. One guy had a really good example of what it was. It's like, to test if you're really through something, if you think of, kind of like that easy button, if you push it and it buzzes or lights up. Yeah. Well, when you disconnect the wires and it doesn't buzz or light up anymore, you're not triggered, right? So it's like, so that you've healed.
Yeah.
Whereas before we still get triggered. No, well, I'll take another pill or go to the doctor again or do whatever it is instead of doing our work. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it is a little challenging. I mean, we grew up in a world that taught us that.
Totally. And it still does.
The way we lived. And, it is a belief within a lot of us, or, I guess it's a strange belief, but yeah, it's kind of like taking the easiest road with the least effort, or the least amount of effort. It's quick, it's easy.
Yeah.
Why make, big lasting changes when I can take care of the little problem right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even think we think about like long lasting change. It's just like, if I get through this moment, it'll be good until you get to the next one. Then it's like, I'll just keep on this cycle, instead of thinking, do I have to be in that cycle?
Yeah. We're kind of strange creatures in a way.
Yeah. I guess that's what makes us human, right?
Well, so often we know that there's better ways to do things, and, and whether it's healthier for us or whatever, doesn't really mean we're always going to do it.
No. And like you said, even us, when in our path that we're on, still have times where it's like, I don't want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
I think our work is never really done, which is kind of disappointing. but it's always, we always have that growth. But the thing is, we don't swing so far and stay in like a victim mode or things like that, because now we recognize it and we can get ourselves back to where we are.
Yeah.
And the more work we do, the less we do have to go medicate or, to greater lengths of time.
Yeah, for sure. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah.
So can you do, like for the work that you do and working with your clients, is it always in person, or can you do like Zoom calls like this? Or?
Yes, exactly. 75% of my practice is through Zoom calls. Most of my clients I've got throughout Canada here and a couple in the US. And yeah, and then 25% is people in Edmonton that physically like to be face to face.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's no real difference if you
No.
do it long distance or.
No, that's the beauty of it, because I mean, when you're tapping, we're actually just mirroring each other. So you're doing the actual tapping on yourself.
Right.
So when we do that, because it's all self-regulated, and I'm just kind of the guide or the catalyst that helps you to get to where you need to go, you know, allowing that safe space. Because when you hit that wall where that resistance is going to come in, you need somebody to help you, you know that it's okay to keep going and guide you to that next stage. And usually when you get to that other side, it's like, oh, well, that's not so bad. It's kind of like that fear thing, right? It's once we actually do something, it's like, oh, what was I so worried about?
Yeah, we get a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Actually, Corby, would you be able to like even just show me, like, just say, I don't know, for relaxation or anything like that, just a.
Yeah, this is
the tapping motions.
Yeah, like our one that's just for self-regulation in the moment that anybody can use is called bronze level tapping.
Okay.
So what that is we have a big meridian points on the side of our hands here, and you can use either side, and it's just a tapping motion.
Okay.
And it's, you know, you try and do 5 to 7 or whatever time, but as long as you do a lot, it's good.
Okay.
And so that's our first point. The next point is right where our eyebrows join, and you can do one hand or the other hand or both hands. Again, it works on the body.
Okay, so you can just do the one side.
Yeah, it's whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I used to, when I first started, I was always just one hand, but now I find I tend to do 2 all the time.
Well, there's something about the balanced feeling.
Yeah, and yet they found it doesn't make a difference. And then the side of the eye, kind of the bony part of the eye there.
Why is that sore?
Oh, because there's an emotional component there that you need to work on. Darn.
Okay, it's stuck in the corner of my right eye.
Yeah, or else it's too early.
Oh, well, there is that.
Yeah, underneath the eye on the bony part again. And then there's one in the middle of the nose there. And then the next one is in the chin. And then the other one is where if you find your collarbone and just below it in that big kind of meaty, muscly place.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big tapping area. And the next 2 are what made me go, oh, what is this kind of stuff? Because it looks really weird. But when you go midline of your body, underneath your arm, and usually that's tender for a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and then on the top, well, again, things are tender usually when we're holding on to stuff.
Okay.
And then the top of the head is actually a huge meridian, so it doesn't matter where you do. We usually just kind of tap all around there. Okay. And then just take a breath. And I guess the good thing I should have told you was first is just notice how you were feeling before, and then as we go through it, then you can kind of feel, oh, I'm starting to relax.
Yeah.
And what happens, people will either feel like, their shoulders are going down. They might start to yawn, to burp, to want to cry, to laugh. All those are the body's way of just going, starting to relax.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it's funny, even just doing that, like there is a kind of almost like a warm, relaxed feeling actually that I can feel, like, especially down into my legs.
Yes, yeah, and some people will say, "Oh, I'm feeling tingly, I'm feeling whatever," because that's just getting that energy moving.
Wow.
Yeah, like it is amazing. And when we work with people, like emotional things, like I don't know if we said before, but the brain doesn't know what's real and what's not real.
Right.
So, when we think of something, like when we start doing the work, and if you think of, oh, that was a scary thing that happened, all of a sudden the body starts to respond, right? So when we start to tap, that's why I like EFT so much when I'm coaching, because it's a gentle way. It's not forcing you. You don't have to relive the trauma, right? So it calms that body so you can work through whatever it is that you need to work through. And so often, so many techniques make you relive it.
Right.
And that's not good. The great thing with this, like last year, the Veterans Affairs in the US now has taken on EFT as a technique they use with post-traumatic stress disorder. And they've had like an 85% success rate and with no relapse. So, which is really awesome. And like I say, it can be used for so many things, but it's just that because we're emotional beings full of energy, this is why it's so effective on so many things.
Yeah, actually, and I remember hearing, maybe you can confirm this, but with everything that went on in Rwanda years ago, it
Mhm.
sounded like they used it with actually a lot of the survivors and had a great amount of success with that as well.
Yes, Nick Ortner, who's a very big proponent, he just had the World Tapping Summit. This is his 10th year, I think, that he gets a lot of people involved. And he was, I know he had something to do with there. And
Okay.
actually, he took one of the, or a few of the kids from the Columbine shootings and helped them get through their emotional stuff that went on. And then now these kids have gone, I know in one of his projects, to Rwanda, and we're helping those people with the genocide and that, and exactly
Wow.
giving them that piece, I guess, that they were missing out on again, and try, and able to have some quality of life. Yeah, it's huge of what they're doing.
Yeah, so I mean, things like that, post-traumatic stress disorder, recovering from something like genocide, Columbine, yeah, like all of those things, like those are something that a lot of us are never quite going to experience, not,
Yeah, hopefully not.
exactly.
Yeah,
And yet this technique is that effective.
yeah.
And yet it
Because
seems so simple.
it is, I know, and that's why at first, when it first came out, everybody's like, "Oh, it can't work."
Right.
Like my mentor, Nancy Forrester, she's was a scientist. So when she was, it had to be proof, and it's not, why is this working? And yet
Yeah.
she couldn't deny the results that were happening, right? So there's something more to it. And now, fast forward 20 years, they've got all the science behind it, all the meta health,
Mhm.
behind it to say that yes, this is scientifically proven that this does work. And I think sometimes we think if it's too easy,
Yeah.
it shouldn't work, or it can't be effective, so we kind of put that aside. But I think the day of saying that it isn't, it is scientifically proven and it works.
Yeah, it is absolutely incredible. And, like I said, I'm guilty of knowing things and maybe not using them as much as I should.
Yeah. Oh,
But
see, with me too. I mean, I fall into that all the time. Then it's like, all right, resistance. Here we go.
yeah, but you know what, now that you're explaining, because like I said, I've done, the tapping on my own,
Yeah.
and, I have had some success, but now, from what you're talking about, and especially having somebody with you
Mhm.
and somebody that knows what they're doing, more importantly,
Yes. Yes. Very important.
to walk you through a lot of that, now it actually kind of makes me go, oh yeah, maybe I should actually go and work with somebody
Yeah.
to just, like, I know for myself, it's like, yeah, there's crap that's still, sitting around, and blockages here and there. Like I said, little tender spots, just even going through the
Yeah.
practice. And it's like, yeah, I know it's there, but you know what, I'll let go of it or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
Right.
well, here's the thing: is we are so good at living with our stuff
Yeah, we
that
are.
we don't, because it comes on so gradually. We just start
Yeah.
packing it in, and we can function for a very long time until we don't.
Right. Yeah.
And the body is built, because it is a fear response, in its whatever wisdom, it tries to keep us safe, right? And safe means doing what we've always done, even if it's
Yeah.
not healthy for us. So that's why you hear about, CEOs dropping over dead of heart attacks and different things, is because stress, they
Right.
can't take it anymore. So the body goes, I'll look after you. And sometimes you lose your life because of it.
Yeah.
It'll sacrifice your joy. It'll sacrifice so many things trying to keep you out of these situations.
Hmm.
But the problem is it doesn't have a thought, and that's where, most of us cut off. We don't want to feel, so we cut off that connection between our mind and body.
All of a sudden, yep, you pinpointed exactly what I'm guilty of.
Well, and most of the human population,
Yeah.
because as we
Yeah.
said earlier, that's how we're trained, right?
Yeah.
Don't feel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is once you clear your stuff, people are afraid of that huge ugly cry or that big tantrum, but once you've cleared it, it's like, then you can, it's not about being emotionless. It's like, oh, I'm feeling sad in this moment, and you can honor that and cry and cleanse and be done.
Yeah.
Because it's gone. It's not like, oh, I got to keep it in there and I can't carry it, or even when I'm mad, it's like, geez, I'm mad, but that's also a clue to say, what's going on for me?
Yeah.
Now I can deal with that in a way, not where I'm going to have, like you see so much like the road rage that's out here and,
Yeah.
people lipping each other off. It's like, that's so unnecessary. It's just extra stress that people are carrying.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Wow. Yeah. Suddenly it's like, okay, once we're done the show, I'll just make an appointment with you.
Okay. Sounds good.
But and like, honestly, a question I have is, and I'm guessing it's fairly dependent on your client, but like, is it something you need to do like long term, like once a week for 6 months, or is it something that you can do once or twice and have results?
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the issue and what it is. Like a lot of times, if people have, say, like a phobia that's very new, you can often clear that out fairly quickly. But if it's a long-term thing, like even just doing my own personal work, before I had I had shifts, right away within the first month or two, but to make significant, get through, because there's a lot of crap going on. It took like 6 months to get where I was cleared out, feeling really good, and then continuing my work, because as a practitioner, I have to keep doing my work. It took another year to get that stuff. What I'm seeing working with clients typically who really are ready for that transformation, it takes about 6 months to fully do that. And usually how I do it is we do 4 weekly appointments, and then we go every other week. But we tailor it to the person, because if they hit something really stuck, sometimes it's nice to go again, a couple weeks in a row, because you get that momentum and then you can really work on that.
Wow. Yeah, this is so interesting. And Corby, how did you ever get started in this?
Well, it was totally by accident. When I lost my job, like I said, that was where it was like, I was crushed and I had no self-worth, no love, like it was like, there, I proved it. I'm a failure, and yet I was very successful in my career, but I didn't believe it. So when that happened, luckily I had a outplacement counselor that was offered through work. And so she put me in touch with a motivational speaker, because I thought, well, maybe I want to be a coach, because I've always been a coach of some type in my life. And so I flew out to Toronto, and there was this ladies there, separate from what I went for, and they were going like, we have to, we heal whatever. And I was so drawn to it. It was like, I signed up right there. It was a 6-month course, and I'm phoning my husband, I'm signed up for 6 months in Toronto. And he's like, okay. And so I went to this course, and, they started doing the tapping. I'd never heard of it before.
Right. Yeah.
And so when they were doing, I was just kind of like, okay, what am I in for? It's like, well, I'm here. I guess I might as well stay. And then after that, once we started, like, all of a sudden things were coming up. It's like, I've dealt with those. Like, what the heck,
Yeah.
And then they were cleared, and now they are dealt with, and so it was totally by accident. And then that gave me the focus and the shift of where I wanted to do. And because it affected my life so much, now it's like, I want everybody to feel this freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is amazing though.
Yeah, it is. And like say some, I look at it now, and it's like, there are no accidents, and I can see this is because this is my passion. This is the path that I've been leading up to my whole life.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah. The universe always seems to take you where you need to be, when you need to be there, and
exactly. Yeah. And honestly, like, if I hadn't gone this route, I have no doubt I would still be feeling worthless, feeling unable to do jobs. Like, that time frame before I found them, like there was about 3 months, and I'd go for interviews, and they'd be like looking at me like, how did you even get anywhere? And I'm like, I don't know. You might as well just close the door. It was like, it was awful. So it was, good thing I didn't get a job, because it brought me to here, as we say, the universe brought it there. So.
Oh, exactly. Oh, that is too funny. Well, Corby, is there like anything else you want people to know, or viewers and listeners, that is interesting about things that you do, or things you have coming up, or?
No, I just think I think we're at a good time right now, because people are opening up more to the energy modalities, and as you're like promoting it, 2 weeks ago, I was zoomed in to a place in Niagara Falls where they were doing a retreat for their leadership. And so I spoke to them about energy and leadership. Like, 20 years ago, even 5 years ago, we wouldn't have talked anything about that. Yeah. So it's awesome to be on this wave where people are opening up so that we can heal and become this greater community, Yeah. And I think just do your work, and it doesn't have to be painful.
Yeah. Were you saying that to me specifically, or? Okay, I point.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, and it definitely is like, just like I said, the results that I had by myself with tapping
Yeah.
were awesome. And now, yeah, I am super interested in actually working with somebody
Mm-hmm.
to see where that takes me, because I know there are things, it's like you can sort of feel them.
There
They're
is,
like
yeah.
little weights tied behind you that
It is, totally.
dragging them along.
Yeah.
But so I know they're there, and I have no clue what they are though.
Yeah.
And
The amazing thing is, like, you don't need to deal with every single little thing, because usually if you think of like anything that's happened in your life is kind of like those, paper dolls where they would cut them out and they would all kind of join hands.
yeah,
It's just a repeat pattern. So when you actually get to that core, it collapses all of those. So it's like you don't have to deal with everyone, it just deals with them all.
oh well,
And
now
it's
that
kind of
sounds
like,
way better.
it is. It's not so, because everybody's like, oh my God, I got like 1,000 or 1,000,000 things to deal with. And it's like, it's
Yeah.
okay. You don't have to deal with every single one. And a lot are tied to each other.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes me feel a ton better, actually. It's like, oh, well, perfect. Maybe it's just one thing.
It could be.
Oh my God. Well, Corby, honestly, this is fantastic. And I'm so glad actually you were able to join me today and share about EFT. And
Yeah, well, I appreciate what you're doing, and spreading the words of all these great healers around, and it's just nice to be a part of that.
well, it is, just kind of like you said, there's been such a shift, and a lot of people that aren't really in touch with energy, just because it's, it's still not a big part of people's lives. It's not in the mainstream so much, but people are getting that there is something going on, whether it's with themselves or with the world.
Yeah.
They're seeing it, they're feeling it. And yeah, it's time for people that do energy work to really step up and let people know that, we are here to help them. That is our point, our purpose, the reason we've been drawn to what we do. And there's such a variety of ways to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, give it a try, have the experience. And, if it's not for you, try something else. There's so much out there.
Exactly.
And it is just so cool to try things.
It is. Yeah. And I think now is the perfect time, because there is so much stress that everybody's under and disconnection. It's time to reconnect and bring those connections, because that's what makes us strong,
Yeah, no kidding. And it's, it is an amazing time to be alive. And it is really cool when you're aware of this to see it happening.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, thanks again, Corby. And honestly, actually, I can't wait to make my first appointment.
Awesome.
But I'd like to thank all our viewers too for tuning in, and I'll be back next Tuesday, actually, with, we'll see if I'll do a Facebook Live or not next time. But
you will do a Facebook Live. We can tap on that.
I might have to tap on. Actually, the Facebook Live might just be me sitting there going, we'll see how that goes. But I'll be back on Tuesday one way or another. And once again, actually, big thanks to Chime for Healing so that we can be here today. And I guess that's it until next week. So everybody go and have a great day. And you too, Corby. But don't go away quite yet, because we got to make an appointment. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you.